Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
Welcome to today's show. I am so excited to introduce to you Justin Fortier, a trailblazing tech entrepreneur behind Fractal Group, a powerhouse in technology services, software startups, and angel investing. With a knack for innovation and a profound grasp of the tech landscape, he's not only reshaping industries, but also mentoring the next generation of leaders. His passion for innovation, combined with a deep understanding of technology, makes him a sought-after partner and mentor. Justin's ability to drive disruption and challenge the status quo has positioned him as a driving force behind the next wave of technological advancements. He's been recognized as a finalist for CEO of the Year, a 40 under 40 top business leader, and the 2024 Mentor of the Year by the San Diego Business Journal. It's obvious to you as the audience why Justin is here to talk with us today. But Justin, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so I gave the fast flyover sort of about a little bit about your background and who you are, but take us on the journey and how you got to today and why it's so important.
Cool. Yeah, the big project that we're working on today is called Fractal Group, and I'll kind of walk you through the businesses that came together to create this group. So in 2012, we started a small boutique creative agency called FYC Labs. It's kind of still our flagship business within the Fractal Group, but it was aimed to kind of disrupt the status quo when it came to creative and design and web design and branding, marketing. We were doing things a little bit sillier, a little bit more fun initially to get things going. As we kind of grew up, we ended up getting bigger and bigger clients. We moved toward the software development side, UI, UX, less graphic design and branding, and we kind of just found ourselves naturally moving toward the technical side of things. My business partner, Pablo Stanley, is a world-renowned UX developer or designer, and he had just amazing ideas to move us toward that side, and I, with the technical chops, was able to kind of catch up. So did that, and then I kind of had an opportunity to go build a SaaS company in the manufacturing space. Went and did that for a couple of years as kind of an early employee and kind of partner there to get things going. That gave me the software as a service chops that I needed in order to kind of go to market with additional products in the future. I did some things in the blockchain world. Well, meanwhile, the agency's kind of chumming along. My wife was running a lot of the project management. We had a really great designer who followed Pablo. And after leaving the blockchain world in 2019, had a lot of fun from about 2017 to about 2020-ish era. It was a great time to be in blockchain. On the technology side, we did less of the crypto trading. We actually were building, the layer 1 services or layer 2 services. So after that, I got an offer to buy out my partners in my agency. We had a couple of investors and some equity partners, and this person came in and offered, "Hey, let me come in. I want to buy a boutique agency. Let's work. I'd like to buy you guys out." We worked together for a year. I enjoyed working with him. His name's Graham Peck. He's out of Chicago. Like, wow, this is really working really well. Let's continue growing this thing together. So we ended up working together and building the agency, building up some extra products along the way, and kind of said, "Hey, let's create this group. You've got some really cool ideas. I've got some cool ideas. We don't necessarily want to put it all under one umbrella company and have this like power struggle over each individual project. And why are you working on this instead of that?" Instead, we created this thing called the Fractal Group, which allowed us to be fractional. So, in each of these individual businesses. And we kind of believe that the fractal is a cool analogy for small individual efforts and small parts, creating a really cool, beautiful whole. So we kind of came up with that concept for Fractal. And now we have under our belt about 8 ventures, startup ventures that were kind of either acquired and kind of incubating and taking to market. 3 are in market right now, doing pretty well. And then we have 3 services businesses at the software development side, a media services business, and a recruiting service that are all helping. All the extra funds kind of from those cash flow businesses are helping us build the products, which are going to be higher margin businesses in the future. And then we also were lucky enough, maybe some of that crypto worked out for me, and we did some angel investments into some small businesses and friends of ours who we wanted to help out. So we have a small angel investing wing. So Fractal kind of grew from this idea of just being an agency, having a lot of different projects running at once, just sort of naturally and kind of building our brains for the ability to be able to tackle many things, and having several clients, several projects, it just became natural for us to come out and open up more businesses.
It's a really unique and atypical model, right? To have the group, right? All of the individual entities working together, but it really isn't under an umbrella. They are still autonomous. Would you describe it more as joint ventures?
They're not
Yeah.
even, there's no paperwork. There's
There's no
just
paperwork.
handshakes, and there's handshakes and collaboration. So I didn't come up with this model. This was something that happened when I was working in the bars and restaurants down in San Diego when I was getting my master's degree. I was a bouncer. I know I don't look it today, but at the time I was actually a bouncer at a nightclub in San Diego, and they started a consortium. They called it Consortium Holdings. They have an amazing group down there, and I think the autonomy of the individual, businesses allowed them to do really cool things, and it allowed there to be creativity, but consistency across the board, right? So individual owners had literal ownership of their restaurant, of their bar, so they became really invested in that, rather than just being this umbrella group who would come in and like corporate is telling us we need to do this now. They still had independent operation of their businesses, but they would use buying power together. They would go get PR together. They would go buy limes together, right? Like, hey, we're gonna use the purchase power across the group to say, hey, we want better pricing on limes because we'll buy them for 10 restaurants, not just for one. So that was where I got the idea. And also the really cool thing that what they were doing, and I experienced it, was continuity for the employee. So they could grow within the organization. They weren't stuck with, oh, I'm a nightclub bartender. No, I kind of want to go do craft cocktails, or I want to be a server, or I want to be a chef. And they could grow within the organization, and it retained the talent. That's what was really cool, is they had such great talent in that group who stuck around, who had experience, who bought into the culture, who had the aligned values. So we're doing the same at Fractal. So we have software developers who may start out in the agency because we're just doing a project with them. And then, hey, we love working with them. Hey, why don't you go help us out on our accounting platform? Oh, why don't you go help us out on our deal flow management platform? And they get to grow within the organization. They get opportunities to maybe get some investment into some really startups. So yeah, it's really fun.
So it's really, the word, as you started to describe that out, right? You've created an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. It's a business ecosystem where, you're actually the ability to grow and to collaborate and to support and to take resources, right, and give them an opportunity to use their talents in ways they may never have thought of, because the line of business would, one business is one thing, but jump across to others, and new skills and capabilities being leveraged, open up doors for everybody. That is actually really cool. And thanks for going back and sharing the story of where it came from, because I think that's what really matters, right? Seeing something and experience, young in our young lives, some might call mine my misspent youth, but applying it to the future and what it actually means. As you're growing Fractal Group, growing anything isn't easy, right? There are challenges and there are roadblocks. What are some of the things that you and your collaborators have had to overcome?
It's really difficult to maintain the context switching, to maintain the breadth of things going on, and being able to calmly step from topic to topic. I think I've been naturally training myself for the last 11 years running the agency to be able to do that. So for someone who isn't either having been kind of beaten into them over 11 years of being able to do that context switching, will definitely struggle if they were to try to follow our approach, because they need to be very adaptable. You would need to be very flexible. You need to be very patient, because things are not going to move as fast as you think they are, because you're trying to move so many things at once. You could jet out one product if you wanted to, but when you're trying to move a lot of things at once, you can only go so fast. So it's not for everyone. So that's not the number one thing, is that the mindset of any entrepreneur who's taking on this approach needs to be very thoughtful that, hey, can I be comfortable with this breadth of things going on? There's a level of anxiety that creates, because you're neglecting something over here when maybe you should be over there, and you're jumping back and forth. So you have to have a lot of confidence and patience to do something like this. So that's the first kind of emotional, psychological hurdle to overcome. Then you have the funding problem. So it's great that we have some cash flow businesses that are kicking off a lot of this funding. And a lot of those cash flow businesses have given us credit within the banking systems. So we're able to go ask banks for lines of credit. And you have to have, or you're going to go out and get outside investment. Outside investment is distracting. It takes a lot of time to go find that. Luckily, my partner and I have a very similar approach to what we're doing. And we've been able to say, hey, look, let's take some of the reinvestment from the services businesses and let's put them back in. We both have said we're okay not taking dividends as owners. We've kind of made that, and I'm very lucky to have a partner who has the same mindset. That's another big piece. So that cash flow management across the different businesses is really important. So we invoice for everything back and forth with each other. Now, it was just, like helping out the group. Like, I don't care. We're going to invoice for that. You might not pay it tomorrow, right? We're going to give you extremely favorable terms as an internal company, but tracking that cash flow is really important. So that second one is the cash flow and maintaining the resources. The final thing on starting a big group like this is getting the values alignment and the messaging kind of intact when you have a lot of competing egos and leaders. So luckily, again, and this isn't really I haven't really done this by design. It's just avoiding contrived culture is what we've been working on. An authentic culture has attracted and kind of has naturally created and weaned out those who don't fit. So I feel it's one of those weird things where the harder you try, the worse it gets for you. If you try to create these cultures, you just kind of have to be them and trust yourself and have the confidence to keep it going. So yeah, culture amongst your leadership is difficult to maintain, but it's something that is doable. And I'm happy where we're at today. The second one is maintaining cash flow, and the third is ensuring that you have the flexibility to handle such breadth of projects going on.
And it is a huge undertaking. I appreciate your candor, right, in the culture space, right? It's a huge topic, and we all want a really awesome culture, right? With that breeds engagement, it keeps people around, it fosters growth. But if you have the wrong personalities and the wrong leaders trying really, really, really hard to create something that is counter to who they actually are, right? It's always an epic cluster. And knowing and understanding that point of not everybody's going to fit in this space, and leading from that mindset is, it's a self-awareness for you and your partner that is absolutely phenomenal, and something that so many leaders don't have. So, again, thank you for sharing that with us. With what you're building with the group, what do you see kind of on the future, on the horizon? What are you ultimately trying to solve for? What's that impact you're wanting to make?
We are super startup and small business focused. So we are not trying to necessarily disrupt the large players in the world, right? We're trying to help out small businesses make significant gains through incremental growth, right? So improving their accounts receivable. That's a very boring topic for most people, but it is probably the number one thing that keeps businesses alive is making sure they get paid and make sure they get paid on time. So that sort of goal of ours to, that disruption is to say, we're going to focus on the little things that people don't love to work on rather than trying to go reach Mars, right? There's other people who can go find that problem and who will go die on that sword. But our thing is we're going to go help the little things get done right. So those little tiny innovations, those little tiny disruptions of status quo will help these small businesses thrive and get them out of kind of the churn that's created when you're just ideas and, oh, how do I get past this? Oh, this cash flow problem killed my business, or, oh, I just couldn't quite get my operations down, or, oh, my spending got out of control, or I couldn't raise money. So our deal flow platform helps them organize and professionalize their raising process. That's a huge thing for a lot of these startups because they'll die on the vine. They might have the best big idea, they might have the best talent, but if they don't have the process down to raise money, that idea is gone and we all miss out on in the world. So focusing on the little things at the early stage and small business level, rather than trying to disrupt big ideas, is going to actually have, to me, a more significant impact than trying to moonshot left and right and just missing.
So what I absolutely respect in what you're saying in here, and audience, these weren't Justin's words, but these are mine. The disruption and innovation that we're talking about in this space has nothing to truly do with the products and services. It's getting operations right from the beginning when it's small and it's manageable, and making sure that the little details that are painful today, if they're not done right, when you're exponentially larger, the pain is exponentially larger. So this disruption and this innovation is absolutely and positively about operational effectiveness and efficiency and doing the right work. I absolutely love that, Justin. That's where I play in that space of doing the right work. If what we're talking about today has piqued the interest of the audience members, where can they go to learn more about you and about Fractal Group?
Obviously LinkedIn's the best. So if, it's LinkedIn/Justin F. Fortier, or LinkedIn.com/Justin F. Fortier. That's a great place to go look at what I'm doing. I post almost all of myself and my group's activity on there. Again, our flagship company is FYC Labs. That's probably where you'll see the most engagement and what we're up to. So fyclabs.com is where you'll see our dev shop and all the cool things. All of our products and everything is listed in our innovations page. So you'll see the group's work. Fractalgroup.io is currently just sort of a manifesto site that we put together that just explains our ethos and where we're headed. But we are going to start putting in profiles for each of these businesses. So you'll be able to check out what we're doing. It's broken down by our different groups, our venture group, our services group, and our angel investments. So you'll get an idea of what this group is doing. And if you want to kind of join us and say, hey, I think this Fractal group is something interesting, and I'd like to be part of a group like that. I'd like to start my own group like that. We'd love to talk to you. I think there's plenty of room in this in the industry to start more groups like ours. But yeah, if you're going to hang out, mostly LinkedIn is where I post most of our updates. So you'll see a lot of cool stuff that we're doing there.
Right. All right, so we've talked about a lot of interesting things today. I want to close with the thought that the idea of this ecosystem, this group, in and of itself is really disruptive. When I went off on my entrepreneurial journey 15 years ago, people said things to me like, oh my gosh, you're going into competition with everybody you've ever done business with. And I was like, nope, that's not the mindset. And over time, it's proven out, right, that partnering and working together, the group can do more than any one of the individual businesses. And this mindset, I think, really is on the bleeding edge of how solopreneurs are going to grow into entrepreneurs and how we can really build and bolster and lift people up. So Justin, thank you so much for sharing your story with me and the audience today. It was an interesting take on a topic that, unlike anything that we've had on this show before. I appreciate the conversation, and audience members, you know the rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show.